guys? Your boy, 20K13. I'm here to talk about 11 reasons Seth Rollins will lose the WWE title at Payback. Seth Rollins has enjoyed a solid start to his WWE Championship run, but if you scratch just below the surface, there's a range of factors that suggest his reign isn't going to last much longer. He could be dropping the belt as soon as Payback on May 17th. He will be defending the belt in a fatal four-way match with Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose as his challenger. There are several reasons, both on-screen and off-screen, that could lead WWE to taking the belt off him. Some of the reasons have a lot of logic behind them, where other reasons are reactionary. But the change is definitely something that WWE will be considering, whether it happened or not. One thing that will not change is Rollins' status as the best wrestler in the company. He a sublime in-ring talent, and there's no doubting his skills. Performance isn't going to be one of the reasons why WWE changed things up. Granted, his Extreme Rules main event was on the door side, but his overall efforts are stellar. Whether it is Raw or SmackDown, he's usually in the match of the night. He a long-term asset in the title scheme, but in the short term, it looks like he could be on a very different path. There's 11 big reasons W could take the title off him at Payback. Number 11, low Raw rating. The news that the May 4th Raw crashed in with just 3.57 million viewers was a blow to WWE. It represents the lowest viewing audience for a non-holiday or football season, Raw, since 1997. That's bad. So bad that WWE are probably looking at ringing in the changes. The 5% slip from last week can only be explained by an apathy for the product. Would that slip have occurred had Randy Orton won the title at Extreme Rules? Probably not. The mainstream casual audience is just so different to the minority passionate audience. The Rollins title run may appeal to some viewers, but he's more of an unproven on the mainstream stage. Dave Meltzer tweeted in reaction to the low rating, and I quote, "I hate to be working in WWE Creative this afternoon. The non-blind guy saw the ratings. Changes are coming, and Rollins' title run could be one of them." Number 10. The Kane feud is hot. Wrestling purists aren't exactly calling for it, but the wider audience is really engaged by Kane and Seth Rollins' continuing hostility. The slow build is working perfectly in establishing a match that fans will pay to see. It is one of the aspects of recent television that WWE will be pleased with. The crowd reactions are live for Kane almost turning on Rollins. There needs to be a payoff with all of this at some point, and the end result is probably a big pay-per-view match. But the issue is Rollins has the WWE title, and that's not really necessary. The Kane Rollins match sells itself based on the personal animosity. There is no need for the title to be a factor. By moving the title off Rollins at Payback, WWE can then move forward with a Kane match. Number 9. The Lesnar feud doesn't need the title. Not only does the Kane feud not need the title, but the anticipated Rollins vs. Lesnar match doesn't need the belt either. In fact, it would actually be much easier for WWE if the belt wasn't involved. The fact is that the Lesnar Rollins narrative is all about revenge. It isn't about the title. It is about Brock Lesnar wanting to kick Seth Rollins' ass. The angle was set up on the Raw after WrestleMania, with the cowardly heel running away from Brock. The expected return for revenge is scheduled for the summer, with a SummerSlam main event in mind. With the title not needed for either the upcoming Kane and Lesnar feud, WWE could be opting to make Rollins the loser at Payback. Number 8. The decision to add Dean Ambrose. Originally, the Payback main event was Rollins versus Reigns versus Orton. The May 4th Raw then added Dean Ambrose to the equation. Why? It was certainly a little out of the blue. It is possible that this past weekend, WWE decided to move in a different direction and do the Kane and Rollins feud for June. So Ambrose was added to May title match as a way of sparring Rollins' blushes, as losing the title in a four-way isn't really that harmful. Indeed, it could simply be a case of WWE putting Ambrose into the match to do the job. He can serve as a fall guy, which means that Rollins or the other big names involved never really lost the match. Number 7. Ambrose as champion. The other prospective outcome is WWE making Ambrose champion. The situation has perhaps been looked at and decided that Rollins, Orton, or Reigns don't really need the belt right now. But Dean Ambrose has been struggling for relevancy. He's a man lost in the shuffle, which, honestly makes him the best choice to take the title. It will give him meaning. Rollins, Orton, and Reigns just don't need that. They got their own momentum without the belt. Seth Rollins has benefited from the title and will remain a headliner without it. By moving the belt over to Ambrose, WWE could elevate a second new star. There's even backstage talk of Ambrose going heel in all of this. Number 6. Orton Renaissance. Randy Orton is proving really popular right now and is doing some of his best work in his years. His matches have been great and his promos impactful. It is no surprise that the crowd are getting behind him in a big way. That could be something that could be something that WWE sees on. They like Orton and wouldn't be averse to putting the belt back on him after hearing some positive crowd noise. Remember, he's only 35 years old, in the very prime of his career. That could be the way they are headed. Move Rollins onto Kane and leave Orton as a champion. Have him go over Ambrose and then maybe even spin the Orton Reigns narrative out through the summer. Their match last year at SummerSlam was good. Number 5. The Reigns Project is working. Alternatively, WWE could be set to pull the trigger on Roman Reigns. The big dog is riding a wave of popularity after his impressive performance at Extreme Rules, and WWE could figure that it is best to strike while the iron is hot. Whether it is Reigns, Orton, or Ambrose, it certainly looks as if WWE is looking at someone for the title change. The advantage with Reigns is that it starts his push into the franchise position. That's something that WWE didn't really want to wait on, as the plan for his big push go back over a year now. The Fatal 4-Way could represent the perfect opportunity to get the belt off of Rollins and on to Reigns. The extra men involved means that the boos are less likely, as the crowd won't be solely focused upon Roman action. It could be the perfect time to do the belt switch. Number 4. Rollins was only ever the stand-in. Seth Rollins isn't meant to be the WWE champion right now. It was never the plan. He's been the substitute, the stand-in for Roman Reigns after WWE realized that it would be creative suicide to make the big dog champion at WrestleMania 31. Now the intensity of that time had passed. Rollins' job is done. He benefits from the shine of the belt and he can now return to the upper mid card with a little extra gloss. WWE perhaps booked the 4-way as a way of ending the substitute run and getting back on track with the original plan. Number 3. A bigger money in the bank lead in. A title switch always sparks increased interest in the WWE. Heading into June Money in the Bank show, the Payback main event having a title change will help boost the next show. The change refreshes both the main event and mid-card theme. Rollins dropped down to the mid-card for the long-awaited Kane match. Meanwhile, the main event title theme is intriguing with a new champion making their first stand. Throw in the annual briefcase ladder match, and it would be a hell of a strong card. On the other hand, if things stay the same, Money in the Bank won't be quite as interesting. This is a generation of short attention span and faster movement. A fresh champion will give the upcoming summer run an injection of engagement. Number two, the four-way scenario. The four-way itself is a reason that Rollins could be losing the title. As the commentary team always states, you only have a 25% chance of winning. That's usually just a nonsense line, but at Payback, it could hold merit. Just like when Brock Lesnar lost the title in a three-way at WrestleMania 31, the extra number allowed for the title to be transitioned without hurting the title holder. The four-way could write Rollins out early, perhaps after Kane gets involved and start a separate brawl. Excuse me. The other three men then contest the action, with a new champion eventually being crowned. Rollins would then go on to feud with Kane and Lesnar. Before returning to the title picture in the autumn month, if it seemed like a demotion, it isn't. He'd be getting to work with Brock Lesnar, and then he'd be returning to the title scene with fresh momentum in the latter half of the year. Number one, Brock Lesnar Payback run-in. The big outside bet is Brock Lesnar getting involved. It would be a hell of a surprise, popping the crowd and costing Rollins the match. It would answer back what Rollins did to Brock at Mania, and it would also firmly stamp the SummerSlam match. But you have to question if WWE would use one of Brock's appearances in an unadvertised manner. It would create a ton of buzz, but would it make sense? Well, they did it with Sting at Survivor Series. That was a massive talking point the day after the show. So there could be some logic in using Brock in an unadvertised role at Payback. Just imagine the music hitting, then Seth getting taken out of the match by a flurry of suplexes and F5. It would be one of the loudest crowd moments of this year. Social media will light up. The show is called Payback, and nobody wants payback more than Brock. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next one. Peace.